The Nedes, also known as the Nedic peoples, were a human race of unknown descent, who occupied a large portion of Tamriel amid the Merethic and First eras. Their culture heavily rotated around astronomy and worship of entities known as the Celestials. Nedic culture experienced an abrupt recession over numerous centuries as they began to absorb into other cultures, before being altogether wiped out by the Redguard Invasion of the Deathlands. Although the origins of the Nedic peoples are hotly debated, the most widely acknowledged speculation is that they hailed from Atmora in many waves, and after reaching what is now Skyrim, they promptly began to advance throughout much of Tamriel. While their beginnings are unclear, the primitive known evidence of human existence in Tamriel have been dated to the mid-Merethic era circa ME 1000. While Nedes thrived in several of the modern provinces, it was in the deserted wastelands of Hammerfell, which they understood as the Deathlands, that Nedic cultivation truly bloomed. In the Deathlands, the Nedes confronted plentiful foreign assaults, along with both the Aelids and the Dwemer, who disregarded the Nedes as feeble-minded savages to even condone conquering them. The Nedes had often clashed with their neighbors, the archaic stone-worshipping Iron Orcs. Even with these constant conflicts, Nedic society flourished for centuries in the Deathlands. The Nedes were known to be proficient in stonework, with their large cities constructed mainly from stone. However, limited evidence of this masonry stands, as what wasn't effectively devastated by the invading Ragada was usually taken over and changed beyond recognition. While the Nedes were known to be faithful star worshippers, during the Redguard Invasion, their prayers went without reply, and many looked to other sources for liberation. This did them more harm than good, and the Nedes hastily fell to the Redguard multitude, disappearing from the Deathlands for eternity. In many territories, the Nedes existed as a splinter group, and had no option but to coexist somewhat harmoniously with elves, usually in a collateral situation. Those Nedes who established in High Rock discovered the highly refined culture of the Direni elves, and promptly became servants under the authority of them. Under the Direni command, the Nedes lived at the lowermost layer of a harsh feudal pyramid, with the elven nobles positioned on the crowning layer. The Direni relished in numerous advantages over their human subjects, along with the perquisite of coitus, the power to immerse in recreational intercourse with any need of their choice. Many Direni took favor of this and took on Nedic concubines, which often produced the creation of mixed-race offspring, whom they cited as Manmer or Bretons. While the Bretons were not formally recognized as affiliates of the noble houses they arise from, they usually took up social positions above those of the Nedic peasantry. Sooner or later, this provision was adapted with the birth of a new caste among the elves and the Nedes, in which the Bretons savored an enjoyable standing in society, but were prohibited from wedding elves in an endeavor to conserve the elven race. Eventually, after generations of mingling with their Nedic servants, the Bretons were effectively assimilated, creating an unique culture with those of the most elven blood on top. In the late First Era, the Direni hegemony found itself under attack by both the fervent Alessian Order and the Kingdom of Skyrim. Despite the elves managing to drive away the invaders, they were left broken and corrupt, and ultimately withdrew to the Isle of Balfiera, handing control over the region to the Bretons. While affiliations between the Nedes and the Direni were congenial, if rather unstable, the Nedes languished immensely under the cruelty of the Daedra-worshipping Aelids. the Aelids would frequently orchestrate attacks on Nedic soil, shackling those whom they captured. Once in Aelid lands, the Nedes were controlled in serfdom besides members of various other human races, compelled to do labor in a variety of degrading work, such as agriculture and upholding infrastructure. In Aelid kingdoms within the clutches of more malicious Daedric princes, human laborers were exposed to appalling torture. In the First Era, 242, the slave queen Alessia led an uprising against the Aelid overlords, resulting in the liberation of all slaves within the Aelidic Empire. While the slaves were liberated, centuries of Aelidic annihilation and intermingling with other enslaved peoples had taken their toll on Nedic society in Cyrodiil, and all that remained were their mixed-raced heredities, the Imperials. The Nedes also cultivated an existence in Skyrim, but not much is known of their relations with the native Falmer or the Atmorans who replaced them. The Nedes of Skyrim were considered to be a more primeval people than their cousins in other lands. However, their skill in engineering was known to be quite exceptional. It is documented in Dunmerry passages that these Nedes of Skyrim waged at least one violent war against the ancient Chimer, causing carnage and genocide before being stopped by the alleged Brothers of Strife, but at an unfortunate cost for the Chimer. It is hypothesized that the Nedes once had a presence in Morrowind in the Merethic era. It is also theorized that the aboriginal tribes of men that once thrived in Blackmarsh, the Kothringi, Orma, Yespest, and Horwali, may be of Nedic ancestry. Over the centuries, various happenings caused Tamriel's Nedic populace to decline, such as when the Syro-Nords apprehended Nedic harbors along the Strident Coast, a considerably unfamiliar region seemingly around the Gold Coast of Cyrodiil and the southern beaches of Hammerfell. By the 9th century of the First Era, Nedic cultivation was limited to the sands of Volenfell. In the First Era, 808, the warrior wave of the Okudans, the Ra-Gada, made influx in Tamriel. Their accession would deliver a deadly blow to the Nedes. The Ra-Gada, under the authority of the ruthless Emperor Tarish-Z, immediately overran the province, executing or enslaving all that they crossed. With quick work, the Okudans had uprooted the Nedes everywhere except the isolated region of Craglorn. There, many Nedes, exacerbated by the downfall of their culture, began to turn to sources of spiritual navigation other than the stars. This did them little favor when the Ra-Gada reached Craglorn, and the Nedes were dispatched as hastily as they had been elsewhere. After years of conflict, Nedic culture had finally met its demise. However, some narratives allegate it was already fading preceding the Ra-Gada. Though the Nedes no longer live as a recognizable people, much of their society endures in the cultures of their descendants. Even in Hammerfell, much of the Nedic religion, custom, and language was embraced by their annihilators, the Redguards. If we will die, we will die together. Remnant from a Nedes journal.